engagement. We rolled out the gate into Calise. The man that was supposed to be on the machine gun in my truck was too afraid to operate his weapon. And he found out that he was even unable to load the weapon properly because he was so excited and scared. I was ordered by the major to basically take his place. And I got on this weapon, and it was an M60 machine gun. It was an old Vietnam-era weapon I had never even seen since I've been in the military. It was the first one I ever seen. So after learning how to load this weapon and operate it, we rolled out the gate. We got to a little intersection in Calise, and before us, we saw smoke rising up from the town, and we heard gunfire, and we heard explosions. And there was a circular perimeter of Iraqi police and army trucks, just white pickup trucks, blocking off the perimeter of this traffic circle. And they would drive into this circle, and a truck would move out of the way and let a truck in and pull back forward. And it'd be full of men, basically military-aged men, in the back of the truck that were getting pulled out by MPs and getting beat up and zip-stripped, and some were even being shot in that traffic circle. The major was dismounted and walking around, and my buddy, who was also a sniper, there was only two of the snipers that were asked to come along on this mission, was out with them. And he was being told that the deputy governor of the Diyala province house was under attack, and there was nobody there to defend him. So we got back in our trucks, and we made a sharp left away from Calise to the deputy governor's house. On the ride there, we came upon, in the medium, a pickup truck parked facing away from us. There were men armed, about 5 of them, in the back of the pickup truck, and one of them had an RPG, and it was pointed across a long, marshy field, and across that field was the deputy governor's house. Immediately pulled the trucks over in a herringbone, basically. One truck just staggered, facing in different directions, trying to give everybody an equal opportunity to fire. I watched the man in the RPG slowly turn and look at me in the eye and look back at the deputy governor's house. He did not react hostilely, nor did anybody else in the pickup truck. After a moment went by, I finally heard the major yelling, "Fire! Fire! Why the hell aren't you firing?" The truck that the major was in began to fire upon this truck, and all the following trucks proceeded to fire upon him. Basically, we ripped this pickup truck to hell. All the men in the back of it were torn into shreds, and we continued to fire on the vehicle. My weapon malfunctioned, and I was only able to fire 1 shot at a time. Later, I found out that the spring in the feed cover tray was basically broken, so I could only fire 1 shot, so I'd have to reload the weapon, aim, and fire. Reload the weapon, aim, and fire, which is supposed to be a fully automatic belt-fed gun. I was using in single shot, almost like a sniper. I was able to acquire my targets and fire upon the men. In this confusion, a vehicle driving towards us right after the combat was initiated basically must have realized that too late he was in the middle of a combat zone, and he decided to try to drive past us as quickly as possible rather than try to stop and turn around and go the other way. The lead truck vehicle fired his Mark 19 into that car as it sped towards us. And I watched the round basically shatter the window, go inside, and almost just a light and a smoke erupted on the inside of the vehicle, and it tore off to the right into an embankment. I was able to fire 2 rounds through the windshield before it basically ran into a berm and spun there basically for a moment. And I watched smoke trail out of the holes that I had created in the windshield from the grenades that exploded inside. And in the massive confusion, it's almost startling how little control you have and how much fear perpetuates you to not really concern yourself with things like rules of engagement and Geneva Conventions. Basically, your primary concern is getting yourself and your buddies home alive. And you realize that you're fighting for blue team and they're on A team. And it really doesn't matter what ideologies or why you're fighting anymore, because you're there and you are fighting. Even though these men never fired a single round back at us, we were able to kill 5 of the men in the pickup truck and 2 men in this car that ran off the side of the road. At one point, the passenger of the car fell out the passenger side and was trying to crawl towards one of the tires to seek protection from the tire. I had a very clear angle at the man, and I was hearing replies that there was gunfire coming from the vehicle, which I couldn't tell. But I had to take the word for it, so I began to shoot this man again and again with the M60, reloading a single shot, aiming and firing into his belly. Eventually the man stopped moving, and eventually everybody stopped firing, one after another. And it's kind of funny because I don't know if somebody ran out of ammo or if somebody said cease fire and nobody else heard it but one person. He stopped firing. The next person stopped firing. The next person stopped firing. And finally we all stopped firing. And there were some men that were laughing, some men that were crying, and I was just scratching my head. And the Iraqi army, who had assembled behind us, were waiting for us to stop firing, moved in pretty quickly. They covered the vehicles, and they kicked all the weapons out into a circle. And I watched one of the Iraqi policemen raise his hands to his head in kind of a, oh my God, sort of look. And I was like, what? You know, what? And all the rest of them sort of joined in, and I realized something was very terribly wrong. And finally it trailed back to us that these men that we had just killed were the deputy governor's bodyguards. Many of them were off-duty policemen and Iraqi army officers that were trying to seek additional money by supporting and basically getting a job with the deputy governor to protect him. So all these men, basically, in the vehicle and the men in the car were not only innocent, but in a coalition, they were our allies. And it was basically fratricide. This is the kind of confusion that goes on every day in Iraq. Whether it's innocent civilians that we can't understand who they are or what they're doing, and there's muzzle flashes, and we just eliminate the enemy and they're in the way. Or, whether it's men in a field that, we assume are innocent anyways, but we don't even give them the benefit of the doubt, and we shoot them regardless. These things happen over and over again. And we don't have many photos of it. We don't have many stock footage of it. If we did, there'd be more Abu Ghraib scandals, and there'd be more Hadithas, and there'd be more Mike Greens that we can learn about. But all we do have is our testimonies. And hopefully, with the courageous efforts of Iraq Veterans Against the War, we can continue to bring these to light. The men I served with were honorable soldiers. They were professionals. They went to Iraq hoping to do good, hoping to do right. They went to Iraq to defend their country, to defend their neighbors, and defend their citizens. However, we found rapidly that that was not the case, that we were killing the Iraqi people in horrible ways, and we had to. We had to do it to protect ourselves and to operate our missions in the most safety that we could possibly do it. And most soldiers are going through this, whether they've seen a true atrocity or not. The truth of the matter is that the war is the atrocity. Thank you.